Good morning again from Yummy BTV. Wishing you all well, of course. Now, before I go on my travels this afternoon, there's a little matter that has to be cleared up. I'm not going to worry you all because I'm not being blackmailed, all right? And I feel like I've got nothing to hide. I don't think it was anything too big or bad about what I said. And it was months and months ago. Don't really matter what time it was, right? What we are talking about is I've had 130 messages in the last month, only recent times, asking me to come up here and clarify what I said when I was out with four or five geezer boys, right? Who I thought were friends, two of them are. But one of them was filming it at the time in a bar, right? I probably had a couple of drinks and all that. But at the end of the day, I said it. So what we're talking about is the unedited Krays Geordie Connection launch. It was held at the Blind Beggar, right? So Roy Shaw, Freddy Foreman, and SW from the Northeast, right? I won't call his full name, but either way, on the video, I did, right? And many others, because I hear there's videos circulating on YouTube. But you know, Uncle Yummy, I just tell you what my part is in things without looking at F-all, right? So what I said was that Roy Shaw had a ex-missus. Her name is Ashley, right? Fact. They finished their relationship and SW started to go out with her, right? So they went out together for a little while. Ashley was from up north, right? And then she broke off. I don't know how long the relationship was with SW, but she broke it off, right? And they're saying, her and many, and Roy, were saying that he was taking the breakup pretty badly, right? Now, there's suggestions of other things, but I will not get into that hearsay. It was SW is a man I never really minded. He's a man who helped me in the past, right? But I know that I said this on video. Now, when the book launch came and everybody was there, Roy Shaw came down to the Beggar to basically weigh SW in, right? Fact. He had 2 or 3 geezers with him, right? When they reached there, SW was around Freddy Foreman quite a bit. He had a few people with him as well. And there were many outsiders and bystanders that might not have been aware of the tension. But the consensus was that SW knew that Roy Shaw wanted to have a word with him over Ashley ringing him and telling him about, you know, what's happening since her and SW broke up, right? Roy Shaw was fuming. He come to do a job that night, right? Now, overheard Roy Shaw saying to 2 either bodyguards or mates or heavies, but they were big lumps. They said, listen, we're going to go straight in there and do it. Roy Shaw said, listen, leave it. The only time you get involved if anyone jumps on my back while I'm fighting, right? That's what Roy Shaw said, right? And there's witnesses to that. And SW could probably feel the vibe. But in the aftermath of this, when I tell you in a minute, it seems like SW had wind and was really worried about bumping into Roy. Like there was a funny, when he came up to Roy at first, there was a little bit of tension. Some people saying he put his hand out and Roy didn't shake it, but I'm not too sure about that because Roy could have even shook his hand to make it look like that they were friends. And I'd expect that from someone with Roy's history, is not to let the enemy know that by the time this thing finishes, I'm going to weigh you in. That kind of stuff, right? So he started to walk over to SW. He was around the table where the big man was, Freddy Foreman. But he got up and stood up and went round into a set of 2 or 3 other people, right? I can't be sure. I wasn't there, right? He then went back to Freddy Foreman and said to Freddy Foreman, SW, he said, please, I think Roy is going to make a move on me. Fred, can you have a word? And Freddie got out of his chair, right, and walked over to Roy, put his hand around him, and he said to Roy Shaw, he said, Roy, listen, mate, now's not the time. He goes, there's a lot of things going on with the other fella that's pretty valuable to us. That's what the words that I hear were said. And Roy left it alone. The other bit that you asked me, that I was talking so freely with my big mouth on that video, is because I was around the B-Cats at that time, with Mason Swell, Sub Blunderstone and all that shift. Remember, we've done videos, stories in the early times I was out about that. Frankie Fraser, Charlie Richardson, Dave Courtney, and SW went up on the visit to go and visit Reg, right? Which many people were going to visit at that time. We know, we've gone through stories about that as well. Now, the person that was talking to me while I was being videoed said to me, what they didn't even really want SW sitting at the table with them. What I said quite clearly was SW had to be sitting round the table with them because he was writing Reg's book. You know what I mean? So that's it. That's all I know. But I'm telling you, that was why Roy Shaw probably wanted to knock his block off. I'll be